There's one part of Lori's story from last week that has replayed over and over in my head. And that is the part where she said she struggled with an eating disorder for so long until she went into treatment for it. And there, when she went into treatment, they gave her an amino acid that she had been deficient in. And it was like everything changed in her brain. And all of a sudden, everything was working how it was designed to. That has just stuck with me because I think there's a lot of different things in our lives, micronutrients or even macronutrients, that when we fix one thing, then our body can work as it was designed. And I just love that example that she shared last week. I would love to know, have you looked into amino acids anymore since you listened to that episode? And today, we're going to continue on that theme of talking about supplementation and does it actually help? Welcome to the Health with Hashimoto's podcast. This is where you will find clarity and simple, sustainable strategies to feel better. I want to help you figure out your root causes. My name is Esther. I am a registered nurse. I know how exhausting it is to live with fatigue, brain fog, and the ups and downs of Hashimoto's. And that is why I'm here. I'm here to cut through the confusion and to give you practical steps that support your body, calm your immune system, so that you can regain your energy and feel like yourself again. So I went to the library the other day while my kids were in archery practice for school. And as I walked towards the fireplace, because it was a cold day, as I walked toward the fireplace, I past their magazine rack. I don't usually look at the magazines, but I looked at the covers because, they're interesting, right? And I saw one from Consumer Reports, and it was our guide to popular supplements. Like, oh my goodness, I want to read this because they promised we reveal what works, what doesn't, and what can be dangerous. Now, I know that my perspective is a little bit different than the conventional Western perspective, and I feel like Consumer Reports is pretty mainstream in that way, so I wasn't sure what I would find. So I sat down next to the fireplace, warmed up, and I read this, and definitely the expert that they interviewed for this article, his perspective differs from mine, and the research that he has looked at differs from the research that I have looked at, which is always interesting. There's so much research available, which is one thing, honestly, that makes Hashimoto's and thyroid stuff kind of tricky, and health in general, because you can almost always find a study to cherry pick something from to prove what you want to prove. So I checked the magazine out so that I could talk with you about it on the podcast. And when I got home, I had an email from a scientist group. They work for a nutritional supplement company, and they just published an article also about nutritional supplements. And theirs is titled Why Nutritional Supplements Matter. So both articles, the Consumer Report article and the one from the scientists, say that a lot of people take supplements. Consumer Reports said that it's highest in adults 60 and older. A quarter of adults 60 and over use 4 or more supplements. The other blog article, the research article from the scientists, said in 2026, so this is a newer survey even than Consumer Reports, it said that 76% of survey participants take supplements every single day, and 44% reported increased use in 2025 compared to what they did in 2024. Participants, they used supplements for a couple different things. General health was number one, immunity support, energy support, stress and mood support, and weight management were all in there as well. There's a couple of things to know about this supplement world, and Consumer Reports points this out very well. It's basically a quality control problem. It's not regulated like a pharmaceutical. At least when I started taking supplements, I thought they were like a pharmaceutical. When you take a set amount, milligrams of an antibiotic, you know that it is that amount of antibiotic. So I figured supplements were the same thing. If you go to the store and you get a vitamin C supplement, it's going to have exactly what it says on the bottle, because that is what I knew. That was my lens of taking or giving, pills through the hospital and through the clinic, you give a pill and it is exactly what it says. However, supplements typically in the past have been regulated more like food. So if you order a pepperoni pizza, it might have 5 pepperonis on it, it might have 50 pepperonis on it, and both of them are considered a pepperoni pizza. That's what the supplement industry used to be regulated as. They have tightened up now, but even now in 2026, there are quality control issues. Consumer Reports specifically says that their tests have found that unexpired fish oil tablets or capsules are sometimes rancid. I saw a study about 10 years ago that found, and this one was from Australia, it was either 80% or 90% of the ones that they tested were already oxidized of fish oil. So that's disgusting. You know, if you're taking fish oil, you're doing it for the benefits. You don't want the risks. We want more omega-3s in our diet. And if we don't have enough omega-3s in our diet, so we take a fish oil. If it's already oxidized or if it's already rancid, then it's doing the opposite of what we want. We are not getting the benefits from the omega-3s. We're actually getting harm. But it's not just fish oil supplements. Consumer Reports also listed that protein powders and shakes commonly contain lead. In fact, more than 2/3 of the protein powders we tested contained more lead in a single serving than Consumer Reports experts say is safe to have in an entire day. The Consumer Reports briefly mentions gummies. I would like to see more about gummies because what I have read is that gummies generally are more sugar than anything, and the amount of actual supplement in them is negligible. Maybe Consumer Reports has covered that. I just haven't, walked to the library when they have that magazine, when they have that issue. But that was the last thing I read about them, and I haven't looked them up for quite a while because I don't give my kids gummies, and I don't recommend gummies to anybody. However, when I volunteer up at camp, I am taking care of, 150 to 300 kids, and the biggest supplement that their parents send with them is melatonin gummies. I give out so many melatonin gummies every single night because that is what kids take. And, as I'm handing them out, I'm inwardly cringing. I'm like, this is just, sugar to spike your blood sugar before you go to bed. I don't know if there's any melatonin in it. I don't know if the amount of melatonin is going to work, but whatever, we're just going to, give you what your parents said to give you. That's a whole nother tangent I could go on. So Consumer Reports does give 7 different supplements to consider, and then some that are that could be harmful. Another thing about supplements is there are so many ads all over, not just social media, but in magazines, in your friends, like everywhere. I feel like everybody has an opinion about what supplements you should be starting. You should be starting for different things. So somebody hears you have Hashimoto's, or you have low energy, or you have brain fog, or you're struggling with your weight, and there are different supplements for each one of those things that somebody might say, oh, this is going to be really helpful. Why don't you try this? I have been looking at supplements since about 2002. So that's a lot of years. And when I first started out, I was coming from my nursing school background. I was freshly out of nursing school. And in college, I had been taught that you can get everything you need from your food. Well, I learned that our food is depleted. We're not getting what we used to get from our food just because of the soil, the minerals in the soil, the farming practices. Things have changed. And while the food is going down in different micronutrients, our needs are going up because of the stressors that we're under. And when you're under a lot of stress, then your micronutrient needs for different things, increase. So I learned that starting back in 2002. And so I do have a flow chart of what are the most important supplements to start with. Episode 83 is all about that. If you go to the show notes, I have a link to the blog post where you can actually see the flow chart. You can see it all at a glance, why I put different things, why is this foundational? Why is this extra? What do you think about that? It's all in episode 83. So head over to the blog or the podcast. The podcast is embedded in the blog post. So head down to the show notes and click that link. So the 7 supplements that Consumer Reports says to consider is number 1, calcium, because most of us are deficient. The second one is iron. You don't want to get, you know what? I'm going to say you don't want to get too much iron, but that goes for everything. You are Goldilocks. You are Goldilocks. You don't want too much, you don't want too little, and all supplements need to be in that Goldilocks range. What you need for your Goldilocks range might be different from what somebody else needs because supplements are a supplement. They're a supplement to your diet. So if you are getting a lot of one thing in your diet, then you don't need a lot of that supplement or any. If you're not getting anything from your diet of one micronutrient, then you need more of that supplement. You are Goldilocks. So iron, they do say, basically, don't take too much. Don't take more than 45 milligrams of iron a day unless you're under a doctor's supervision. Magnesium is another one they list. Magnesium is one of the biggest deficits in the world for micronutrients, for minerals. And magnesium runs so many things. It says here in the Consumer Report article that magnesium is involved in muscle contractions, nerve function, energy production, and blood sugar control. Absolutely true. I believe that I have read it's in over 300 different functions in the body. And Americans don't get enough. So magnesium, you can get it through food like beans, whole grains, nuts, fruits, dark leafy greens. And if you're not getting enough, then that's where supplementation comes in. Vitamin D is the next one. I did have to laugh a little bit because it says exceeding 4,000 international units a day can be dangerous. Well, that's true. Vitamin D, like everything else, you need to be in a Goldilocks range. However, for vitamin D, you can't feel if you're low or if you're high. You do need a blood test for that one. And to get you up to the ideal, some doctors will tell you to take way more than 4,000 international units every day just to get you up to the ideal range. And there is a chart, if I remember, I'll put it down in the show notes, of how to get up. During COVID, this was really big because vitamin D levels were one of the biggest indicators for how somebody was going to do with COVID. The higher your vitamin D, the better the outcomes. So one of the goals for those reading that kind of research was like, we need to get people's vitamin D up as fast as possible. Personally, to maintain my level between 80 and 100 is my goal for my labs. I take 4,000 international units 5 days per week. That keeps me right at that amount. For some people, like when I was breastfeeding or pregnant or both, I had to take way more because I was not only giving me my vitamin D, but I was also providing that vitamin D for the baby. So it's really vitamin D. You need to check your labs and you need to respond accordingly. The next one is multivitamins. Okay, and then the one after that is probiotics. So here is where their expert and I completely differ, or they're experts. They have multiple. In the multivitamin, they say, this part I agree with, nobody has a perfect diet all the time. So taking a multivitamin to fill any vitamin or mineral gaps seems like a smart, quote, insurance. But the science isn't clear-cut. Now, I do agree with that. That's why we take a multivitamin, is to fill those micronutrient gaps. They go on to say that there are not really any benefits, and if there are any benefits, they're so minor that this particular doctor does not recommend multivitamins. I disagree with that. For example, selenium. I've mentioned it a bunch over the past couple of months because that's when I first learned why we recommend selenium to people with thyroid problems. It's because for anybody, thyroid problems or not, you need selenium for your body to convert the T4, which is the inactive form of thyroid, to the T3, which is the active form of thyroid. If you don't have enough selenium, your body can't make that conversion. If your body can't make that conversion, your cells can't turn on. They don't have the ignition switch to use that or to have the thyroid hormone tell the cell to turn on. We need selenium. If you're not getting enough, where do you get it? You get it in your multivitamin, or you can get it in a actual selenium supplement. I get mine in my multivitamin because I don't eat enough Brazil nuts. You can have 2 Brazil nuts every single day, but it's not just selenium. We could go through every single micronutrient and I could tell you this is what you need for optimal body function for your cells to work. And these are the foods that you need. However, some foods, you just need too many. Some micronutrients, you need too many foods to get that. I made a slide for one of my webinars a while back, and I talk about Protandim NRF2 quite a bit because when you turn on that pathway, then your body starts to make more antioxidants like catalase and glutathione and superoxide dismutase. You don't have to remember those words. So one little herbal tablet, which is 5 herbs, Protandim NRF2, I take it every single day. It is equivalent to 400 oranges every single day. One Protandim NRF2 turns on that NRF2 pathway in your body to create so many antioxidants that in order to neutralize the same number of free radicals that your body does when the Protandim tells it to turn on, you would need 400 oranges every single day. Or if you like broccoli better than oranges, great. You need 500 cups of broccoli every day. I can't eat that much. How about blueberries? I like blueberries better than oranges or broccoli. You would need 110 cups of blueberries every single day. Or, even just vitamin C tablets. You would need 120 vitamin C tablets. And that is just all to do the same work that your body naturally does when you turn on that pathway with the Protandim NRF2 tablet. Like I said, I do that every single day because that NRF2 pathway is so powerful in your body. Okay, back to Consumer Reports. So multivitamins, I disagree with what they said. I do believe that the benefits outweigh any risks. There's not really any risks to a multivitamin. Some of the companies make really bad ones. I've talked to people with a colostomy or an ileostomy. So that's like a hole in your gut. And so the things come out closer to when you eat them. And they have had different supplements that they've tried. And it came out, one of them said some of the brands come out even with the little, like the stamp still visible on the supplement. So that's obviously not okay. It's not dissolving and it's not working. But other brands are good. So look for a good brand. I use Fullscript for supplements if I'm not getting them from LifeVantage, which is where I get that Protandim NRF2 and the other activators. Probiotics is another one that they talk about here in this article. And again, it says that evidence supporting the routine use of probiotic supplements is weak. Well, here's the thing. If you look at maybe all in general, maybe, but I've read Supergut. I did a couple episodes about that, about the book. And a lot of what he talks about in that are probiotics, specific bacteria in your gut. And then he teaches you how to, make different yogurts and different fermented foods that have specific strains because they help. If you're not getting the probiotics that you need from your food, that's where supplementation comes in. And supplements, if they are good quality, they really do help. On the other hand, supplements can be a huge waste of your money and they can cause problems. So if you're taking low quality supplements or if you're taking supplements that counteract each other, some supplements in one multivitamin, they will have 2 different supplements or 2 different micronutrients that fight, and one of them will disable the other one. You have to take them at separate times. So I do look for supplements that have an AM and PM because I don't want those nutrients fighting. I want everything that I take, everything that I pay for, I want it to work in my body. So I specifically look for AM and PM or one that doesn't have things that are fighting. And I also look for good quality. But supplements, it is an industry where you can just keep seeing more and more and more like, oh, this is really good. And this is, helping to solve a problem that I am struggling with. And so you just keep adding more. I think that is one of the biggest dangers of supplements is that you can just keep looking for that next magic cure. And supplements are not a magic cure. Supplements are to supplement what your diet is lacking. And the activators that I use, those are to tell your body to do what it's supposed to do. The amino acids that Lori was talking about last week, those come from protein. And if you're not getting enough protein or if your protein is not supplying the right amounts of the amino acids that you need, then your body and your brain are not going to be functioning well. So in summary, I guess I would say supplements have a place and they have a time. I feel like they are very beneficial, especially to people who have holes in their diet, which is everybody, or people who want to turn on the pathways that have slowed down as they've aged, like the Protandim NRF2 that I take every single day. I also take the Protandim NRF1. If you go to the link down in the show notes, you'll see I have linked to what's called the dual synergizer. It has both the NRF2 and NRF1. Those are just 2 different pathways in your body. The NRF2 turns on the pathway that works with antioxidants, so making your body or telling your body to turn on antioxidant production again. The NRF1 is energy. It works on the mitochondria in your cells. And if you struggle with energy, well, then you want more mitochondria and you want the mitochondria working effectively, right? So I take both of those every single day. I have cut back on the Protandim NRF1 for a little bit as I was, balancing my budget. And I noticed a huge drop in my energy levels. And so I was like, oh, well, clearly my body just isn't turning on the little mitochondria. It's not producing enough energy when I'm not taking it. And it's just herbs. There's no caffeine. It's not anything. It's not a stimulant. It's telling your body to do what your body was designed to do. And supplements do another portion of that, which is giving your body the ingredients to do what your body is supposed to do. So overall, I thought the entire magazine for Consumer Reports was interesting. I thought the specific article about popular supplements was also interesting, and most of it was pretty accurate. I do disagree with their experts that a multivitamin isn't helpful and probiotics aren't helpful. I disagree with that because I have read research that indicates otherwise. I would love to know what your perspective is on supplements. Do you take some? Do you take a ton? One person I saw on Facebook a while ago, she said that she was paying, I want to say she was paying $500 to $700 a month for supplements. And that is one of the reasons that I made that flowchart. Go down to the show notes, head over to episode 83, where you can see exactly how I prioritize different supplements. If your budget is $0, I have 3 different things to do for $0. If your budget is tiny, I have that. If your budget is unlimited, I go all the way to the top. What is the extra stuff, the fun stuff? But I would love to hear your perspective on supplements, what you take. Come over to the Health with Hashimoto's community over on School, and let's talk about it. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Please discuss any changes with your trusted healthcare provider. To take your next step, join our School community and explore the courses available there. You do not have to figure your health out alone. So that is School, SKOOL.com, and it is the Health with Hashimoto's community. I'll see you next time on the Health with Hashimoto's podcast.